Hey you guys, it's Therese and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming the series that I will be finishing versus the series that I won't be finishing, and hopefully in the future I'll actually bring up the books, but sadly my books are kind of scattered in separate shelves right now and it's really hard to dig through and find them. So I'm just going to have the picture of the book or books post somewhere in this general vicinity maybe. I was gonna start this off with the good things, not the bad things, but I decided to, mix things up a little bit. Won't kill us to try with the to go for the things I didn't like. So the series I won't be finishing, like, I wouldn't say that I hated these series. In fact, most of these series I actually did enjoy. It's one of those instances where I think I might have just grown out of it. Maybe the plot went somewhere that I just couldn't handle where it went and just had to go and stop there. So let's start off with the Vampire Diaries by L.J. Smith. Now for those of you who don't know, it's about this lovely little cat here, huh? Look at you. You go say hi to the camera. Okay. Back on topic. So for those of you who don't know, the Vampire Diaries by L.J. Smith is about this girl named Elena, and she meets Stefan Salvatore, who is a vampire, and her life kind of goes, I don't want to say upside down, but it does in a sense go upside down. And there she kind of meets love, and then there's a whole love triangle involved. So yeah, I don't think I'll be finishing this book just because I did read the first one. And I was really excited because I had seen the TV show and I love the TV show, but with the books, I felt that the pacing was a little weird, the characters weren't And on top of the characters, where the first 2 or 3 books went, because I got a little bundle set, I felt that just didn't really it didn't vibe with me all that well, and I wasn't a huge fan of it because, spoiler alert, they kind of got engaged after the first 3 books, so it just didn't sit right with me and I wasn't a fan of it. But if you did like it, kudos to you, it's just not the book for me. The next one on that list will be The Secret Circle by L.J. Smith, and like I said, I love the TV show and I definitely did love reading the book. I enjoyed the books that I had, and I definitely would like to continue with the series, but I just felt how the characters to me just seemed really kind of outdated for this time period, and I wasn't it was just really hard for me to get into the book without being well, would they really do this? I know it's an older book, so there is some truth to what they did, but I just don't think that this is a book that I'd like to continue to read because of that. And The Secret Circle is about this girl who just recently lost her mother, and she moves to this new town and finds out she's a witch with a bunch of other witches, so there's that. The next one on my list is The Last Werewolf by Glenn Duncan. Now I was really excited to see this book when I saw it in Barnes & Noble. I jumped at the opportunity to buy it. I didn't hesitate. I just thought the concept was really neat, the last werewolf, and he's so old and he's so done with life in a sense, and I just wanted to see how the writer went with it. Unfortunately, it kind of fell a little short to me. I felt that a lot of the plot points were just a little too muddy for me. I couldn't tell where one thing was going, and then on top of that, I felt how the characters just reacted to things weren't very realistic to me. It was honestly really hard for me to get into the book. I found myself rolling my eyes the entire time. It just wasn't the book for me, so there's that. I didn't even have the chance to finish it. I just wasn't a fan of it, which is really unfortunate because I was really excited for this. What are you gonna do? So the next one on my list is The Maze Runner by James Dashner, or at least the series. This series is, by the way, the first book anyways, is about these children who are put into a maze and trying to get out, and then the rest of the series is them figuring out about this weird post-apocalyptic world that they live in and how they were meant to be part of this experiment and whatnot. But for this series, I got through a little bit. I believe I got up until probably the third book. I know it's not a lot considering it's like I think 4 in the series. However, I think it's just one of those books that were like, to me, I got because it was so big. We had Hunger Games, Divergent, and Maze Runner was the next big thing. The dystopian genre coming out, and I kind of forced myself to read it even though I wasn't very interested. So when I got around to reading, I want to say it's a Death Gear, I could be wrong because it's been a while, I just could not bring myself to really get into it, and I found myself not interested anymore. And at that point, I felt that I was doing this series a disservice if I was gonna force myself to read and just like rate it poorly just because I didn't enjoy it. So I like forced myself to stop and was like, well, I enjoyed it while it lasted, and you know, it's not every book is for everyone, you know. Okay, the last book on this series I won't be finishing list is Maximum Ride by James Patterson. This was actually a really hard book series for me to not finish because I had started these series when, this series is about these winged children. I'm gonna say children because they're like 12. I think the eldest is like 12 or 13, so they're still kids who have been experimented on and have escaped from this like school, quote unquote school, that they were raised in, and basically they have to save the world from the school that they are in. And like I said, this was a really hard book for like a really hard series for me not to finish because I had started Maximum Ride in middle school and I'm in college now. And you know, it was like we all read it in our advisory periods, and it was like a way for us to get into reading. So these were one of my favorite books growing up, and I had only gotten through the first one before, you know, I got out of the grade, and we didn't even finish the first one, I don't think. So I have been like slowly reading them, and I got to the third book. Like the turn the third book took wasn't one that I particularly enjoyed. I felt that the characters did a lot of things that weren't true to them or true to what I remember them reading. True to what I remember reading about when I was with the second one. And then the plot just went from stopping the school to a little bit of a weird save the planet thing, which I am completely okay with. However, there wasn't a lot of, I don't think, a bit of build up before that plot point was introduced in the third book. So I just stopped with the third book in that series, and you know, whatever happens in the rest of the series, I think I'll be okay with not knowing. So, but now on to the more happier note of the series that I will be finishing. So let's start off with one of my favorites. It's The Dark Artifices by Cassandra Clare. If you guys don't know, this is a weird continuation. It's not a weird continuation, but it's like the sequel series to The Mortal Instruments, which just follows the life of Emma, who we met in the last book of the Mortal Instruments series, and her parabatai, Julian Blackthorne, as they kind of try to uncover the murders that occurred during the Dark War. And I'm not going to get into it so much. I'll be finishing this series for a number of reasons. One, I love the Mortal Instruments series. I loved the Infernal Devices, so it only made sense for me to love Dark Artifices, and I feel like with every book, Cassie Clare just gets so much better, and her characters have definitely changed and evolved, and it's just really good. And I love how she's like bringing in like Edgar Allan Poe into these series, and like definitely adding more mystery. And since we're not like, it wasn't how it was with the Mortal Instruments or the Infernal Devices, where we get like this new character who gets thrown into a new world, so we grow with the character. We have these characters who we met in the previous series who have grown up and they know the world around us, so there's no point for an introduction chapter, so to speak. So I'm really excited. I finally got Lord of Shadows, so hopefully I'll be getting to that as soon as I can. Okay, the next book on my series is A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, which I don't think there'll be a lot of you because this is one of the booktube favorites that I've seen around, which has gotten me to read it. This is about a girl named Feyre who hunts a wolf who turns out to be a fairy, at least the first book, and it's kind of this weird Beauty and the Beast retelling or at least not a retelling, like a Beauty and the Beast take on these characters, which I definitely enjoyed. And Feyre's not like your atypical like, oh, damsel kind of thing that we see in a lot of these like more fantasy setting kind of stories. She's very set on what she wants to do, or like her goals in life, and like how this this event in her life has kind of thrown that off, and you see the progression of her character throughout the first book, and how like that hasn't really changed, or well, it does change, but it hasn't. Her character in and of itself doesn't change for the sake of a man, and when it did, you see her kind of fight against it, which I enjoyed. On top of that, the writing style is just beautiful. The characters are done so well. The humor is gorgeous, as you guys can tell. I am still on the first book. I'm almost done, so hopefully I'll finish it as soon as possible, because I have the second book sitting there glaring at me. Alright, on to the next series, The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. Like I said, this is another like booktube favorite. It's another Tumblr favorite, which is where I actually got the recommendation to read it. This book series, it took me a bit to get into, I'm not gonna lie. It was one of those where it was like the writing style, I would get lost in it and I couldn't really comprehend anything, but I love it anyways. I love the characters, I love the plot, I love the humor, and like all the twists and turns. I believe I'm on the third book right now, because I read the first and second one, but I'm definitely gonna have to go through and reread the first and second one, because like I said, I do get lost in the writing style of it, so I don't really comprehend a ton, just bits and pieces here and there. So but I don't mind rereading it. It's a lovely book. Stiefvater has a very poetic sense of like writing, and you can see that in her poetic, lyrical, one of the two, but you can see that in her writing, and it's just so wonderful to get lost in the world she created. So I really can't complain when I say I have to reread the books, because it's been a while since I've read them, so that might also play a factor into the fact that I have to reread them. The next series after that is Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I have read all 5 books. Please don't spoil the TV. Well, actually, it doesn't matter, because I kind of know what happens in this show and where we are right now, just because I have read the books. So I did know what was happening throughout the series while everyone else was watching it. But I do need to catch up, but I do know what happens. But for those of you who don't know, where have you been? Game of Thrones is basically this fantasy world. It's an adult novel. Yes, it's an adult novel, and it takes place in Westeros, and you get to see the characters progress, and the end goal is to end up on the Iron Throne. I have read the 5th book. I'm waiting for the 6th book to come out, but since I think that'll take it's not even a hot minute, it's like a hot year. I'll probably just start catching up to the series. Okay, the next one is also, my notes are down here, so if you see me looking, is The Uglies by Scott Westerfield. This is another book that I read in middle school. You can see a theme here. But this is like, so it's a dystopian world where everyone is ugly until I believe the age of 16, in which case they go through a surgery that gives them beautiful faces, and then they separate out the lives of those who are ugly, or have, like, I wouldn't call them ugly, I just call them like less desirable, and those who are beautiful, like think model beautiful, your Victoria's Secret angels, the ones you see on the runway, you know. For guys, probably Henry Cavill, if you're into that. Picked up the book again in probably a few years ago, the first book, and it was like riding a bike. I could remember everything that happened. I wasn't disappointed in what was going on. I wasn't sitting here like, yeah, but would you really do that? You know, it was very enjoyable for me to read, so I'll probably be picking up the next few books, which are the Pretties and the Extras, probably as soon as I can dwindle down this lovely list of books that I'm still progressing. I'm going to end the this video off with The Night World by L.J. Smith. If you don't know, the Night World is basically this world about vampires, werewolves, and witches. Yes, and a ghost here and there. And the world is in trouble, and they have to kind of figure out who these powerful beings are who can help save it. Definitely one of my favorite series to this day. I reread it however many times when I'm in a reading slump, when I get bored, if I like want to keep reading but I don't have new books. You know, it's just it's like Harry Potter to me. Harry Potter is Harry Potter to me, but it's like one of those situations, one of those series that I will keep coming back to. And I have the 3 books of the series, which is, there's 9 in total. Yes, 9, because again they're like the little bundle books. But I am patiently waiting for the last installment, and I've been teased with this since about 7th grade, and I'm gonna be graduating in May from college, so as you can tell, L.J. Smith, come on. It's just a really great series to me. The characters, like the stories all weave together so beautifully, like everyone there has a purpose. No one is just there to like just be there for a love interest or whatnot. Is it for my first video of this channel. I hope you did enjoy my blabbering. If you did, I would really appreciate it if you guys liked. Comment with your thoughts and series you will be finishing with or won't be finishing, or maybe even series you have recommendations, because I love reading new books, even though I think I have a stack of books waiting to read about in the double digits, probably like 15, which hopefully this semester will help me thin that out a lot faster. But hit subscribe if you want to see more of my series. I think next week I'll be doing a book review. Yes, I just need to figure out the format of that, but hopefully that is a series that I will be doing. Not a series, a video that I'll be doing soon, because that was my initial idea for our first video. But yeah, so I'll see you guys soon.